Hasia, you have just left from the prison camp and are traveling to the Nelian capital with Oberon and the Scorpion Riders. They've sequestered a young Scorpion for you to ride on, and you head inward. Eventually, you stop for camp, and you see the prisoners to the side. They glance through your eyes, and all of them look kind of okay, with the exception of Samantha. She looks destroyed. She has this blank look on her face. There's this collar around her neck, and she's just staring. You are ushered along, and eventually, you all, except for the guards, walk away from the prisoners and set up a wall. It's not a tent. It's just like a canvas wall with sticks that are stuck into the ground. The Scorpions burrow into the ground next to their riders, and then the riders sit down around a bonfire, and servants begin walking around carrying fruits and vegetables on platters. They approach and start handing them out. The vegetables are very aromatic. Like, nothing here is very sweet. Like, the vegetables are almost as sweet as the fruit, and the fruit is, like I said, not very sweet. Everything has a very kind of like soothing effect to it, though, as you begin eating. And the Nelian servants begin to swarm around, and after a while, Oberon dismisses everyone, the servants, and they begin going over to everyone else's places. And he then begins to pray. He forms this thing where, like, his fingertips, his pinky and thumb are out, and the knuckles of all of his index, middle, and ring fingers are touching. The second and third knuckle are touching each other, and then the tips of his pinkies are touching, and the tips of his thumbs are touching, and he just goes into that position and closes his eyes, and his feet like cross underneath him. His legs like cross underneath him. It's weird. It looks like he like flows into position, impossibly, as if gravity isn't weighing him down. And all the others begin to do the same thing, and it looks like the sand underneath him is just vibrating ever so softly and like coming off the ground a little bit. What does Hasia do?
I think the first thing is just trying to mimic what everyone else is doing. But I think she's also kind of just fascinated by it, so she's kind of trying to do it, but she's also like, it's one of those things where she's trying to do it, but she's looking more at the other people than what she's doing. um,
For a
and
minute,
just and just kind of trying to verve out of that fascination.
he's trying to what?
Observe.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. After a minute, the Morian riders begin to spread their legs again. Again, it's in that weird flowing liquid pattern that you saw before. And then they take their hands apart, and one of the men stands up and takes his shoes off I'm sorry, no, he doesn't take his shoes off. He begins to take everyone else's shoes off. And then each person turns to the one to their left and begins washing them. And so one of them turns to your feet and begins washing your feet. It's not like a chain where, I'm washing this person, he's washing that person. It goes all the way around back to you. That's not what's happening. It's just groups of two. One of them turns and washes your feet. Um, and
Oh,
he, huh?
I just said okay.
And he begins talking in Morian. Um, and in your transformed state, you understand
No, I
it.
knew anyway.
Hmm?
I'm pretty sure I knew Morian anyway.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How would you have learned Morian?
I had a couple extra languages that I was allowed to learn, and I picked,
Oh,
I
okay.
think, at least two from this area.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool. Um, he explains what they're doing. He says, "We have spent a long day in the desert. The sands have muddied our feet, and we do not think it proper to remove the sands until after we have prayed, thanking the god of the desert for what he has given us, and thanking him for our safe arrival. Once we show him that we mean no disrespect to him, and once we have shown him that we thank him for what he's given us, only then do we separate the sand from our bodies." And he washes your feet, and then he proffers them, his own feet, to you.
Um, would I know the name of possibly the god they're talking about? Or should I?
No, they just said the god of the desert. And you know that in your transformed state, you know that it's referred to as the god of the desert.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I guess, she mimics what, or like how he washed her feet.
Okay. Yeah. So you go through and wash his feet. After a while, they stop, and then they kind of start chatting a little bit, and then the men turn to their scorpions, who send their tails, who like kind of their tails have kind of been like under the ground. And at a
Mhm.
nod from Oberon, the tails go all the way underground and then come back up carrying packs, and each man pulls off like something and brings it forward and proffers it. And Oberon looks at what they're proffering and nods, and they all take it and set it in front of the fire. Um, and they're all like wrapped in different leathers or papers or stuff like that. Um, Eventually, like it's getting closer to you, and your guide, who's next to you, turns and says, Hasia, this is a rite at the end of each day that we perform. We believe in strengthening the community of our band. We spend many long years in the sands, and it is very easy to lose our humanity. And so to hold on to it, we strengthen the individuality of the people here by having them all contribute on their own to our evening meal. You do not have anything, so do not worry. I will present a gift for both of us.
She nods and kind of bows respectfully, and she says, "Thank you."
He stands and takes his pack from the scorpion. And your scorpion that you were riding on earlier, its tail comes up and like scratches your arm. Um,
I
but
think
they
at
all
first kind of startled, and then it's kind of looking at the scorpion to gauge its intention.
it's just one across your arm. Like it raised the skin as it went across it, and it like if it had pressed just a little harder, it would have ripped your shirt. But yeah, it just sits there. What do you do as it did that?
Like I said, kind of looking at it, trying to gauge its intention, and then probably just kind of reaching down to pat it, like, good boy.
Just like pat, just with your hand going up and down, or do you like pet it,
No,
dragging your hand across it?
it's more like a brushing pet, so it's kind of touching it with a short pet and lift pet, and that's it. So it's kind of like a pat pat, but it's a brushing pat.
You do know that scorpions have carapace, right?
No?
Like chitinous carapace that covers their entire body. They have an exoskeleton, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just confirming that you're just like taking your hand across glass, essentially.
Well, I haven't learned how scorpions like to be pet yet, so
It wraps its tail around your hand and then like pushes it aside and then scratches your arm again.
okay, I pull my arm back and I'm just like, sorry.
um One of the other's tails slaps this scorpion tail and then goes back mostly under the ground. And your scorpion tail just kind of like deflates a bit. You look huh?
Oh, poor guy.
You look over at everyone else, and they have like finished establishing like the foodstuffs, and someone has come forward and offered himself to cook. And he like stands, walks forward, respectfully bows to Oberon, bows to everyone else, and then made a proposal about what he thinks he should cook. And then there was a debate between people, and they either agreed or disagreed. Most people agreed, and so he begins cooking the food over a little fire. You look over at the Neelians, and it's kind of like the same process as before. Like, servants and slaves walking in between everyone, and those people all just lounging on comfortable cushions and eating. The Morians over here are sitting on the dirt, the
Mhm.
sand, and your cloaks kind of underneath you. Now that you've washed your feet, uh, no one is directly on the sand. They're just their back wrap has kind of come undone, is like sitting underneath them. Same thing has applied to you, of course. That your guide made sure of that. Um, and the cook begins like frying the meat and vegetables and whatnot, and everyone uh goes to like a little chit chat. And like by little I mean they almost whisper. Like every like pairs of two like lean toward each other and whisper and say something, and then like sit back straight, like almost in their meditation pose, but like a more chill form of it if that's possible. It still looks like they're almost like in parade rest or like at attention, but like a little more relaxed. Um, your scorpion tail comes at you again and like a little more gently scratches your arm.
I turn to my scorpion and I kind of just offer my hand.
It sticks its tail under your hand.
I rest my hand on his tail.
It like shakes and then moves forward a little bit to where your hand is like your fingers are in between two of the carapace segments.
I kind of lightly scratch. Like, not really with my nails, but just kind of scratch a little bit.
It like starts moving the opposite direction that your finger is going. So like if you're going one way, it slides the other way, trying to like get a better scratch.
Oh, well then I'll scratch a little harder.
Okay, cool. You go on doing that for a bit, and then eventually, the cook sits back down, and another person comes to the front, and your guide actually, and he starts serving food into plates, and then starts handing them out, and then eventually he approaches and says, "We divide our labor evenly, each day a new person is chosen to cook and a new person is chosen to serve. And so in so doing, we again preserve our individuality and our humanity by allowing each person to continue as a helper of the whole.
She
He
nods.
he then sits down next to you, and the whole group begins chanting. It's it's this long Morian chant about, the places that they've been, where they want to go, the beauty of different cities. And then as time goes on, the chant changes to a different chant, and you realize it's a form of poetry, not so much built around rhymes, but built around rhythm. Just,
Mm-hmm.
and after they do this for a time, eventually they like unwrap the rest of their upper wrap and lay it back, and you realize that that has become like a bed for them to lay on, and your guide shows you how to do it.
Jesus.
And then but they don't have pillows or blankets, and so he lays down on that. He lays down on it, and the scorpion tail like comes up next to him, and then the fire begins to dwindle, and all of them just kind of lay there and begin to fall asleep.
I think with her, she kind of, first she's laying there, kind of trying to settle, and then she looks over in the direction of her friends, just kind of,
They are obscured by the canvas wall.
and then she looks at her scorpion, kind of reaches to scratch him again, and then she settles and closes her eyes to fall asleep.
Um, you all make quick time over the remaining travel till you arrive at the capital city. Uh, you after having reached this location, and uh, you head into the city, and your friends are taken to jail. They are taken inward, and Oberon takes over for your guide. The rest of the Scorpion Riders kind of more or less begin circling the city and don't come inward with everyone else. And Oberon tells you that as beings outside of time, they are not allowed to re-enter a city of stone until they have been put to rest by the god of sands. He then walks you through the city and takes you to the Colosseum in the scene we had previously, where you saw your friends fight.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, you see that as he approaches people, everyone is very friendly and very welcoming. They not very many people bow to him. In fact, you see that soldiers don't get bowed to, really.
Mm-hmm.
But like numerous people that you sit next to or that you walk past will just say hi and start talking to you. And they seem very genuine in their conversation. Like, it doesn't feel like small talk. It doesn't feel like just, offhanded stuff. It feels like this is like they actually care about you as an individual, even though they've never met you before.
So not like when someone says, "How are you?" and then continues walking, but when someone says, "How are you?" stops, gives you a hug, and then stands there to listen.
Not like, but
Okay.
they didn't give you a hug, but they were like, "Hey, what's been going on with you? How have you been?" You know.
Mhm.
And Oberon talks to some of them, and you talk to some of them, and it's a very friendly and inviting environment. After a couple of conversations, no fewer than like 5 people invited you back to their homes to go eat with them. Join their family for dinner or something like that. Oberon politely turns them all down, stating, duty and whatnot. And he takes you to the games. There is like this raucous. Before you get to the games, there is a very clean, calm demeanor to everyone. Everyone keeps a respectful distance from each other. There is no like jostling of crowds like you would find in Lavasa.
Mhm.
Um, there is no, shouting and pushing. Everyone is very quiet, very respectful. And you see, like, on every street intersection, there is an armed guard.
Okay.
The streets are very clean, and they are cut from, like, blinding white stone. And that just carries on. It's just this really, really, really white stone that's like trimmed in, like, and a lot of the buildings are from the same material, and it's smooth, like glossy, like as if you were, like some kind of marble or polished granite or something like that. But it's, just a pure white stone. Um, and you again, the crowds are very calm, they're very respectful, there's a nice space between people. Eventually you make your way to the Colosseum, and that serenity is lost. It is thrown to the wind. It is chaos inside the Colosseum. There is shouting, there's pushing, there's like a couple of fist fights break out over betting and whatnot. And even Oberon, in his like perpetual state of just calm, relaxed control, drifts away. And if it's all at all possible for someone who perpetually stands at attention to slouch, he does. But like, he's still standing at attention. um and he encourages you to just like let loose, take place into debauchery, go start a fight, go drink, place some bets, all that kind of stuff. Um,
I think she's just kind of like she looks at him and she hears him and she's like, okay, maybe if something comes my way.
Oberon hands you some money, and then turns and walks over to a person and points at the crowd and points at the current match going on down there, and he's like, "I'll bet you." In like a way more relaxed tone than Oberon normally speaks in, but he still has his normal just authoritative tone because he can't do away with it. He goes, "I will bet you this," and he hands an amount of money to the man and says, "That money, that all of the people in that field will die." And the man says, "That's ridiculous. I'll take that bet." And they start haggling over what amount is appropriate to bet. And eventually they settle on an amount and they start watching the game, just like very intently. What do you do with the money that Oberon gave you? You see that there are people drifting through the seats, carrying drinks and food, and like they're selling it to people. It's like contrasting the clean white that you just came out of. Like, and keep in mind, you're in the middle of a desert. You came out of a desert and you came into an oasis, which is still full of sand. There was nothing on the street. Lavasan streets are kept clean because there's just constant rainfall. But people throw stuff on the streets endlessly. Nobody cares in Lavasa. You eat something, okay, throw it down, right? You know that kind of stuff.
For
You
Annie.
Right, and you didn't see any of that in the streets here. Here, people like eat something, will halfway eat something and throw it aside and then go eat something else. Yeah, it's just pure chaos in here. What do you do with the money you've got?
Um, I think first I kind of want to spot some interesting looking food and then go um, I'll walk up to a person and I'll first be like, "What is this you're selling?
Ah, that right there is chowder.
How
Would you
much?"
like some? That'll cost you 2 heads. A head is the term for the second largest denomination.
Okay, and how much was I given?
Hmm?
How much was
What?
I given?
How much should you give him?
No, how much was I given?
Oh, you were given like 500.
Okay, yeah, I'll pass it over.
He kind of looks confused and like looks at you with a weird expression and like hesitantly takes the money and pulls it back slowly.
She
And then
scrunches her brow and she says, "What's wrong?"
he kind of like just shakes his head and hands you the food and then turns around and keeps walking. And then like as he's walking away, he glances over his shoulder and looks at you and then like squints a little bit, just confused, and keeps walking.
She tastes the food, kind of looking over at the guy in confusion. And then,
It is a heart attack waiting to happen.
like greasy, sugary kind of heart attack waiting to happen.
Yeah, greasy. It's a greasy, sugary, salty, like crunchy ball. It's like someone took sugar and salt, mixed it with some kind of glue, some kind of edible glue to hold it together, and fried, and then wrapped it around one of those halfway sweet plants, and then fried that, and that's what you're eating.
So it's kind of like a fried plantain.
It is crunchy, like you bite it and it's like that.
Yeah.
And again, there's that sickening sweet, sickening salt taste at the outset, and then there's that blandness from the vegetable afterwards.
It's just interesting, I guess. It's kind of at first like, oh my gosh, and then it's like, this isn't great. And then as they like the flavors mix, it's kind of like, oh.
Mm-hmm. What do you do next?
I'll watch the match for a few minutes, kind of trying to gauge which team I think is stronger and going to win.
Mm-hmm. Give me a perception check.
Okay. I got one more. That's 9.
Yeah, you're not really sure which team is stronger. It's hard to tell. But after you finish that food, you bump into somebody, just because the crowd jostles, and this girl spins on you and says, "What do you think?" What do you think you're doing?
Hasia looks at her and then she says, "I was just watching, trying to figure out who's going to win."
Pay attention better. And she kind of like pushes you back a little bit.
She scrunches her brow and she says, "I'm sorry, I was standing right here."
The girl looks very confused all of a sudden. Like, she just stops and like tilts her head sideways, looks you up and down, and then this expression of pure bafflement goes across her, and she just goes slack-jawed and stares at you.
She looks at her, and then she crosses her arm, and she's like, what?
The girl snaps her jaw up as this, like, look of recognition goes across her face, and she straightens up and goes, I said you should pay attention better.
I think you should pay attention better.
What was that? And she steps up to you and, like, grabs your shirt and with her right hand is like, what was that?
You should pay attention better. I was standing right here.
You should learn to get out of the way. She looks you up and down and like, you should learn to respect your elders.
I'm sorry?
You look, what, a few years younger than me? Respect your elders. What'd you say?
And?
She gasps slightly and like steps back and says, how dare you, you insolent little pup?
How much of an age gap do you have to... She just looks so confused.
The girl again looks kind of confused, like she's looking at you expectantly, waiting for something.
She's like, if you're not going to explain to me, I think I'll go back to the game.
Again, the girl just looks utterly baffled. She goes, are you from Nelia, my friend? Like, she switches, like, her tone, her expression, everything completely changes about her. Like, she now resembles one of the people standing out in the streets that you met earlier, and she uses the standard greeting, Yabela, and my friend. She says, Yabela. Are you from Nelia, Yabela? You look like it, and you wear the clothings of a desert wanderer.
She kind of realizes that she's not doing a great job of blending in, and then she also is like, she didn't really want to actually get in a fight, but she realizes like that's what she was going for. I mean, it's not like she just realized that, but it's kind of like, man, I guess I gotta fight. And then she makes a facial expression of offense, and she's like, yeah? Why do you ask? She, like, gestures to her clothes. She's like, obviously I am a desert wanderer.
The girl seems concerned for you, but like kind of halfway steps back into the character of the offended person in the crowd, and someone else steps forward and goes, well, cut her some slack. She's probably spent too much time in the desert. And the girl, like, this expression of shock.
Like, what are you trying to say?
The girl gets this expression of like, oh, of course, I'm an idiot. Like, that kind of expression goes across her face. And she kind of steps back and is like, yeah, there you go. You're getting the hang of it. He pushes your shoulder and says, what would you say to that?
I think that,
No, you're hesitating too long. So look, he kind of steps forward, and there's a small crowd forming around you at this point. And someone comes over and is like, no, so look, stand up, like the girl steps up beside you and goes take your shoulders back a little bit, if you would.
Okay,
but
so things up straighter.
But bend your back, if that makes sense.
Bend my back backwards?
No, forward. Have your shoulders straight, but keep your back, leaned forward a little bit.
Okay, so she does.
That way you exert this kind of air of like, oh, I'm here to relax, but at the same time, I'm in control, you know?
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, now, like, she like, bumps into someone, and someone pushes her away. It's like, what do you think you're doing, you slack-jawed, dirty-clothed whore? Yeah, see, it's like, you have to, like, you have to
Like,
slap...
yes, and she's like, how do you call her that?
No. The girl's like, no, it was very good, He said exactly what he needed to. See, when
That's
he...
offensive.
No, yes, it's very offensive, that's the point. Now you're getting it. When he pushes me, and when I've pushed him, and he calls me that, then I have to snap back and say, oh, what? It's someone... Sorry, I started...
Wait, is this in character or out of character?
No, this is out of character. He goes, oh, is that the best you can come up with? I'm sorry that you had to shave your pubes off and put them on your face. And the guy just steps backwards and gasps.
Red, which she's very dark skinned, so it's like, I mean, it's probably not super obvious. And she's like, what?
Because, like, see,
about that
like,
here.
See, so, like, you have to snap back, and, like, it's an escalation. You have to say something mean, they say something meaner, you come back a little meaner, a little more aggressive, you make yourself larger, and then they push back, and then there's, like, this measuring contest, right? You're like, how far are you willing to push them? And you gauge through the insults and how quickly they escalate if, this is someone you want to tussle with. And if they escalate too quickly, you go, okay, this person's looking for a fight, and you say, you're not worth it. Screw you. And your family. And everyone who loves you. Wait, that's just yourself. And turns around and looks back at you, and the guy nods his head satisfactorily. Because he was escalating too quickly, and I didn't want to get in a fight. So I ended it, right? And walked away. And the guy goes, but, like, if I wanted to get in a fight, like, I'm looking forward to this. He turns to an older woman, and, like, grabs her by the hair and pulls her backwards and says, what'd you say to me? And she's like, I said, last time I looked in a mirror, I broke it, and even that isn't as ugly as your face. And he goes, how dare you, you old whore. No, you can't say whore again. He goes, yeah, you're right. That was lame. I'm sorry. No, you're supposed to escalate. Right, yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that the desert ghouls that had come into our city... And she gasps and says, well, at least my narrow frame can still uphold my ego. It doesn't have to hold your ego. And then he draws back, and she slams a half fist into the guy's groin, and he doubles over and pulls her head backwards with it.
She leans over to someone next to her, and she's like, I think the older lady could win, though.
He kind of stands there and goes, she most certainly could. She's got way more experience at this. Oh, the guy, like, braces himself, and the girl looks like she broke her neck whenever he pulled it backwards when he went over. And she, like, looks up at you and, like, grabs her neck and twists it one way and back the other, and looks at you and says, now you try. And the girl that you originally bumped into steps backwards and bumps into you again. And spins around and says, what do you think you're doing?
She, like, uses her elbow to push her away, and she says, give me some space.
You some space? Where do you think I'm gonna get it? You gotta move with the crowd, little... She kind of looks you up and down. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was picking a fight with a child.
Excuse you, I'm a trained soldier. I'm plenty old enough to be doing anything. Probably more qualified than you.
You look like all the people around you are kind of like... They hold their hands up and like go half, like, you know, that half and half sign people do with their hand by tilting it back and forth. You're relying too much on your own qualifications. It's good to rely on your own qualifications, but you have to like set up your qualifications so that you can push them down, right?
Okay.
So if you're gonna play the warrior route, you could say something like, "I've faced down many monsters of the desert," and then
Well,
say something.
I've actually wrestled with a demigod, so I don't know.
Kind of like get a little shocker, like, okay. Well, you know, if you're gonna say, you know, you faced really powerful beasts, do that. But then, like, use that as leverage to, like, break the other person's footing. So she called you a child, so you want to, first off, you want to discredit that, and you did that, saying, "I'm a trained soldier, I'll have you know I've wrestled a demigod," but then you gotta follow that up with, like, that's just a parry. And a fight doesn't have just a parry. You had a block, you had a deflection, now you've got a strike. So now you've set that up. What is the insult that you can lay on her? You wouldn't last 1 second in the desert, you know, something like that. So you've said, "I'll have you know I'm a trained soldier and I've wrestled a demigod. What's your strike now?"
Wish you like a bug.
Oh, they all kind of clap. Like, yeah. And she goes, and the girl kind of like looks at you in an appraising manner. It's like, yeah, okay. And she steps forward and goes, "Oh, you think you could squish me like a bug? Little lady, I'll have you know I'm as dangerous. The bug you're squishing is from Northfeth. That's the place that the scorpions are from.
The scorpions themselves or the scorpion riders?
Scorpions themselves."
Okay. So you're probably a babysitter? Because the one I have acts like a child.
Someone else can't help but quipping in and goes, "I guess that makes them a match." And the girl turns and says, "Hey, wait your turn." And she looks back at you and goes, "Acts like a child. I was gonna say that," and like snarls at the dude that cut in. Alright. Little children who step out of place get beaten. There, from that, you can tell that I'm trying to escalate to a fight. And I'm trying to see how much you're willing to push back.
Little children get beaten. I'd like to see you try.
No pushback at all, which means she like turns around and then comes around with the haymaker of all haymakers straight for your head. She rolled a 15. What's your armor class?
16.
She makes a haymaker, and how do you dodge, block, whatever, you know?
Probably a kind of trying to one motion dodge and then try to go for an uppercut to the gut.
Okay. So you just like do a motion where you just like, do you step underneath it? Do you step back? Like, it would make sense if you're gonna go for an uppercut that you step on, like you just drop and then go for the uppercut and rise, right?
In my head, it was like kind of bending to the side, like swooping under it.
Okay, yeah, I like that. So you're just swooping. It's like as you bend under, your fist is coming up in an uppercut.
Yes.
Okay, roll to hit.
That's how I was imagining it anyway.
Okay, I like that.
This is gonna be... That's an 11.
You punch upward like that, and she, like, coming out of her haymaker, like you dodge and punch and land, but it like doesn't do any damage because like, you just didn't have the momentum necessary. You were too focused on dodging her punch, and she like steps back and like does a little jig and kicks at your face, and misses wildly. Like she's just very short. Like
I would say I want to try to catch her leg.
give me a dex save.
That's 12. I'm just not
Well,
rolling
that's
it.
high enough. That's high enough.
Oh.
Yeah, you
And
catch your leg.
what I wanted to do was, because I think I've seen this in movies where they like twist her leg so that she's facing away and then push her like into the crowd.
Okay. Make an attack roll. It's a push roll, just like you would do a normal push.
So I'm guessing that's just plus strength. So that's a 6.
6. Yeah, she holds her ground firmly, and then she's going to actually push back into you, but fail and like hurt her ankle in the process. Like she tries to push back, but like with her ankle and leg firmly in your grasp, she kind of like twists her ankle a little bit and grunts in pain as she tried to push back into you. What do you do?
Kick at her standing knee.
Ooh, okay, roll to hit.
That's a nat 1.
You go to kick, but lose your balance because she was on a lower step than you. As you're like holding all this weight of her trying to push into you, and you lift your leg up, and you both lose your balance and fall like down several stairs and roll to a stop. Because you both rolled natural ones. That's hilarious. Back to your turn.
I think she's going to stand up, quickly kind of regain
You two are kind of like in a tumble. Like y'all are like on top of each other.
Oh. She's... Now I'm just trying to visualize. So if she's on top of her,
Sure.
maybe it's not. No, maybe it's more of the flip around on top of her and try to get her to pin.
Okay. Give me athletics or acrobatics, either one.
We'll do athletics. That's a dirty 20.
Dirty 20. She did not make anywhere near that, and you very easily like wrap around on top of her and put her in a pin. She's going to try and break out of it and fails miserably. What do you say now that you have her pinned and you're like on top of her back?
She's looking down at her, and she's kind of pushing her weight into her, and she's like, remember what I said about squishing like a bug?
The girl starts to laugh. And there's like a chorus of applause goes up around you as people cheer at you. Not at what's going on in the stadium, but like directly at you. And she nods her head like, yeah, okay, alright. That was good. You win.
She lets go and stands up. But she's not really, like, she's not, like, relaxing immediately. She's watching for further,
Very smart. Very smart. Yeah, welcome. She holds out her hand. Welcome to Nelia, Yabela.
She.
The Nelian greeting is this kind of like you touch fingertips, like it's the same hand. You extend the same hand that they extend, or the same side. So if they extend their right hand, you're going to extend your left, and your fingertips slide past each other and like lock in this straight kind of pattern, and then you just hold it there for a second and then pull your hand back, and that's the Nelian greeting.
Okay, she does.
The girl does it and pulls her hand back and says, "So what are you at the feast here? What are you at the games here to do today? Taking off from work? Just first time back in town for a first time in a while?"
She nods. My, how would I word it? Commander, leader.
Whatever you'd like to say.
My commander said I needed to relax, I guess.
You would, in Morian, you would refer to him as Yabasha.
Okay.
As in my honored one, Yabashra.
Okay.
Let me send that in chat for you so you can remember it. So it's Ya Bela, and for my friend, and Ya Bashra for my honored one.
Okay. So then just and is that so Yabashra, that's my honored one? Okay.
Yeah, my honored one.
Then she says, Yabashra said I needed to relax, I guess.
Well, that's good. You know, we all need some time to relax. You just look way in over your head. Have you never been to a city before?
It's been a while.
I see. And what kind of relaxing were you looking to do? Drinking, fighting, sleeping? Sleeping in Nelian, that is a synonym for like sex.
Oh, her eyes widen and she's like, not the latter. She says,
The girl shrugs and says, in the games, all proprieties are lost. We're allowed to do what we like in here. The cycle is, we all have our time in the cycle to relax, and while we are in here, all cultural acceptances are put off, and we are expected to behave however we would, so long as one does not truly harm another.
Well, I had a friend who likes to have fun by wrestling. I was never big in drinking or sleeping.
Well, it's good to make new friends. My name is Kamtia.
Nice to meet you, Kamtia. My name is Hasia.
Hasia. It's a very pretty name.
She smiles.
She gestures to a more calm part of the crowd where like there are tables set up and whatnot, and asks if you want to follow.
I would love to.
She walks over that way and sits down and says, she sits down and like brings her leg up into the chair beside her and pours herself a drink from the pitcher that's on the table and takes a big old swig and asks if you want any wine.
She looks at it and kind of... What was, it was a religious belief, not to drink in the Vasa, right?
Yeah.
She, I'm just trying to decide how religious she was. But I think she's she's really taking into account what she said about it doesn't matter in here. And she says, I'd like to taste.
He pours you a small glass and hands it over to you. It is it's almost like juice. Like, you've heard people describe wine as like a bitter thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this honestly tastes like juice with a little sharpness to it.
I
She
think
goes,
she kind of looks at it kind of like, this isn't what I was expecting, but in a good way, and then takes another sip.
girls, yeah, it's good, isn't it? The Aurep provides to us plenty. While many of our soldiers are off in war, are you a soldier? Or just a wanderer?
I'm a soldier, aren't I?
Yeah, you're a soldier.
She says I'm a soldier.
Ah. And whose army do you fight in?
That
The
would be
Malmeds. Oh, do you say Oberon?
She says Hasia is Oberon.
Oberon. Doesn't ring any bells. The Idris, the Malmed, or the Aurep. The Idris rules over Moria, the Malmed rules over Arbia, and the Aurep rules over Nelia. Oberon serves the Idris.
Idris. She says Idris.
Oh, you're from Moria. Wow, I would never have guessed from your skin color. You look like a Nelian.
She just looks down at her hands, like inspecting her skin color, and then she shrugs and she's like, must be a genetic thing.
You did turn into a Nelian, right? Katie? Or did they turn you into a Morian? Okay, I'll ask this. What color is Hasia's skin? Is it an Israeli brown, or is it an Australian purple?
It was, I have a picture. It was darker than purple. Purple? Dark purple?
A dark purple?
No, it's not purple. It's more yellow.
Yellow. Okay, yeah, so you do look like an alien. Okay, so yeah, you look like an alien. So yeah,
She says maybe my family kind of came to Amelia and moved to Moria at some point.
I see. Well, let me do away with your confusion. A great amount is expected from us in the streets. The priests demand that we present ourselves in a holy manner at all times, that we welcome strangers and we greet each other with love and kindness, that we keep our homes clean and our streets tidy, that we see to everything in our lives like this. But
She raises her brow and she's like, well, if it's a command that you be friendly, is it not that you want to be?
oh, we want to be friendly, yes. Just because we want our desires to align with what is right, do we not?
She nods. She's like, I had noticed how friendly everyone was and how intense it seemed.
It's just part of our culture at this point. Yes, there is a command, but we all do dearly enjoy love outsiders and want to make them feel at home. But there is a great deal of amount of pressure that is put on people. And so the priests provide the games for us, where we can relax and do whatever we like. We can come in here to wrestle. We can come in here to drink. We can get lost. It is not uncommon for a wrestling match to lead to sleeping. It is not uncommon for drinking to lead to wrestling. It is not uncommon for us to do anything we like. We have 1 day per week that we are prescribed to come to the games. And each person has an allotted day that they are told to come. And so we come in on our given day, and we let loose. We allow the pressures that have built up over our lives to go away. And it is all on the Outreps coin. She picks up the sweet wine and pours it again. The way you were looking around, I assumed you wanted to sleep, but that seemed to shock you more than anything else.
No, not my style.
And when I heard you were a soldier, I thought for sure maybe you were here to fight. We did indeed fight, but it seems you,
The
never...
insult game isn't something I'm used to. But the more I was looking at it and hearing you describe it, it seems like a new kind of sparring match that I could learn.
Yes, it is a sort of verbal sparring match, I suppose. And then, what you're looking for can develop from there. Everyone in here enjoys the ability to hold no proprieties, say whatever they want, knowing that there are no repercussions. And in that abrasive bluntness, one can discern the true intentions of those around them. Are they simply here to watch the games? Do they simply want to be left alone? Are you here to find someone to sleep with? Are you here to, pick some fights and burn off some steam? Depending on their responses, on how they escalate, how they de-escalate, the kind of things they insult, you can tell what they are looking at and what they are looking for, and you can respond in kind. And by doing your insults, you can show them what you are interested in, and you all, at the end of the day, get what you desire.
Seems nice, honestly.
It is very nice. That is why we are all here. Do you notice how there is close to 1/7 of the city's population within this building? That is because nearly all of us will take our day to come to the games. Very few do not. Only young children who are not yet adults may not come.
If it's more usual to act this way within the games, how does a young child learn to behave this way when they're an adult in the game?
You walk them in and you throw them at someone and let them fight. And they pick it up, just as you would pick up how to talk.
Oh, okay. I suppose like myself. She picks another drink.
The girl summons over some food and takes a bite and starts eating. She, after a minute of doing that, she goes, "Ooh, I gotta go watch this game. Sorry. It's the Lavasan captives."
Her eyebrows raise, and she's like, "That's one I have to watch myself."
Yes, it's not every day we get to see the great enemy put to judgment. Watching those monsters slave away for our entertainment is small respite for all the crimes they've committed against our people, but it shall do.
To name a few? He inquires.
What? What'd you say?
I said, to name a few? She inquires.
Slaughtering of our people. Raiding our villages, drinking their blood, capturing our young and taking them back to their education camps to re-educate them and to never be seen again, to be made slaves. How do you think the vampires get new population? You don't think the vampires breed, do you?
Some. but not many. I've heard.
Do they? I've never heard of that before. How does a dead thing breed?
With living, I think. With someone living, I think.
The girl shudders. So they take a living thing and make it... And she kind of like does some gestures in the air and looks at you.
She scrunches her brow and she's like, I've heard that some vampires sleep with some living. And some honestly stay together.
I see. She kind of like... The girl kind of like tilts her head and is like... Debauchery. Horrid, and she shakes. Well, I want to see this match. And you drift back over to Oberon, who is sitting, staring very intently at the match below. And I think that is where we shall end it for tonight. After you transformed into a true vampire, Libby, you were kind of given permission to go wherever you wanted. And so, in Yagardi's game, you were allowed to drift around the games. Did you just sit there and watch with everyone else, or did you get involved? In other words, did you ever, after transforming, go and be, like, part of the debauchery again?
I feel like she knows it's not going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So she doesn't want to pick a fight. So I think it's kind of going back to one of those tables to watch and maybe trying one of those drinks that she learned that she liked.
Mm-hmm.
Watching Yagardi and sitting at the table and trying to gauge how people are reacting around her. So she's acting, watching.
Mm-hmm. You see people, all of them snarling at Yagardi and jeering at the people sitting over with your group. And people looking over at you and, like, looking down their noses at you. A couple of them walk past your table and, like, spit on it. Including this Nelian girl in a white robe with a brown overshot laid over it. Walks up and slams a knife into it and says, "You killed my family, you monster."
She looks up at her.
And Comtia withdraws her hand from the knife, leaving it there, and says, "Your people will pay for this."
She looks at her with sadness in her eyes. And she says, "I'm going to find answers for you."
What'd you say?
I want to find answers for that.
What?
I want to find answers for that.
Ah. There is no recognition in Comtia's face. And she snarls a little bit and spits on your table and turns and walks back into the crowd.
She sighs and looks down at the knife. She picks it up out of the table and kind of slides it into her boot. Or backpack or whatever. She slides it somewhere on her.
Mm-hmm. And then
And she stands up, leaving the drink, and goes to sit with Samantha.
all right. Sorry, I just had to know how that one part went.
Her heart is broken, honestly. She could tell there was hatred in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was heartbreaking because obviously something happened that wasn't her fault.
Mm-hmm.
But she still feels like she bears a lot of responsibility for it
Mm-hmm.
because she's Boston.
Right.
And I honestly think, I don't know if you've been able to tell, but that's kind of how I've been playing her the last couple of sessions, is like she's bearing this heavy sadness.
Right. All right. Well, there you go.